anticipated for the proposed construction. Item 2 is any mitigation, further testing, or study recommended in the geohazards letter shall be compiled with regarding development lot 1, and a note shall be provided that references the letter and associated geohazards report on the plat. Item 3, specific subdivision waiver is contingent upon approval of the proposed setback that we will consider in just a moment. Item 4 is access and parking easement benefits the single family residential use in the property known as 201 Spencer Avenue shall be drafted and executed for filing concurrently with the plat. Item 5, the subject lot shall be known as 110 Devon Avenue. Item 6, the applicants shall provide a current certificate of taxes confirming that property taxes are current. Item 7, prior to filing, the plat shall be updated to include the following, and there are 3 items, A, B, and C. A note that restricts the sale or removal of lot 1. Item B, any areas of 17 to 29% grade shall be identified and labeled. Item C, a plat note with or without graphic representation on the lot that acknowledges improvements belonging to 201 Spencer in place on lot 1, specifies those improvements or any improvements that the common owners of both properties desire in the future may remain or be constructed. Item 8, the grade of Devon Avenue shall be added to the subdivision site plan, which shall be provided for the planning department file. Item 9, the property owner shall pay the fees in lieu of land dedication for parks, open space, and schools in the total amount of $514 as broken out in the table in the staff report. Item 10, the surveyor has 90 days from the date of approval to provide all required information, corrections and additions, allow time for city review, and submit the final Mylar for filing, or this approval will expire. And finally, item 11, the surveyor will provide CAD drawings of the final approved plat at the time of submission of the final Mylar for filing to allow the city to update its GIS data. The remainder of the packet includes information that is a letter from Clint Lewis and Rachel Buller for your consideration.
Great. Any questions for staff?
Do we not have the geological report now updated from to the present?
That has been updated and it was provided in the packet. It's the Tier 1 Geologic Hazard Study dated April 4th, 2020.
So I think that would take care of items 1 and 2.
Yes.
And they have also submitted their the proof of the taxes as well, which was condition number 6.
I'll raise my hand.
Oh, I can see you, and we're not muted.
And you guys, once you're called upon, will be able to speak.
Sure, absolutely. The applicant can speak when Alan calls upon you.
Okay, now any commission, anyone else wishing to?
Skipping the memorandum. She didn't read the memorandum.
Okay.
The memorandum to the planning department from you?
No, there was a memorandum from Michelle Anthony today that corrects, she changes the recommendations. Did you not get that? It talks about that there is a letter from Ye and Associates, and then it clarifies a couple of points that we had asked to be clarified in items 4, 7A, and 7C. Oh, it's I guess it's 6A and 6C now. No one got that?
No.
Um,
Did you have that, Dylan?
I did not.
I think, let me see who's on the email here.
Christine was.
Yeah, Christine, you were on there.
You should have gotten it today.
Do you know what time this email came in?
12:06 p.m.
Let me see. Alan, if I find this, what's the best way to share that?
How long is the memo?
It's just one page.
Yeah, perhaps you could read it into the
Me?
record.
Okay.
There's
Oh,
also probably a share screen option as well.
Yeah, there is.
Oh, no, it's 2 pages, sorry.
Well,
Let me look in my email, just a moment. I'll look there.
okay. Oh, hey, Mike, you showed up finally.
Yeah, I did. I figured it out.
What were you doing wrong?
I don't know. I just rejoined.
Oh, okay.
There it is. You can move that over.
Okay, so can you see this memo?
Yeah, the first
Okay.
part.
Yeah, maybe not.
Okay, so this memo is to the Planning Commission, and I'll go ahead and read that out loud for your benefit. After receiving the staff report on these items, the applicant sent an email message on Monday, April 6th, asking for revisions, clarification of the proposed conditions of the approval as follows. So they've asked for this clarification. Item number 1, on recommendations 4, 7A, and 7E, you will reference the property known as 201 Spencer Avenue, but they would prefer to clarify that it's only lot 29. As you know, there are several extra lots, 14 through 17, that should be considered part of the 201 Spencer Avenue property, but we don't want these included in this because they could be developed separately for the future. Item 2, we think it would be a good idea to create an access easement on the north side of the Buller lot for the benefit of lots 14, 17, and 29. If they don't do that, then it could cause confusion in the future if any of these smaller lots were developed. And for lot 29, it makes clear, like the other easement you recommended, number 4, see also number 3. For 7A, they've asked to add language specific to the narrative about a plat note, and you'll see in red that they're requesting unless both properties are in compliance with the applicable codes at the time, such as parking for both properties, utilities, and land use. Michelle has written, and I apologize because I did not know that this came in and have not had the opportunity to review it, but Michelle's note indicates that after reviewing these items, she determined the proposed revisions benefit the clarity of the recommendation. The applicants also provide a geohazard reports by Ye and Associates and the certificate of taxes, which Dylan just mentioned, to show the taxes due are current with the second half payment due this month. Below are the revised recommended conditions for approval of MNS 2001 and SW 2001 based on the applicant's request and revised additional information that is provided.
Okay, well, that's good. Could we just read those conditions into the record?
I think so. Dylan, would that work if I read items? Do you want me to read those?
Yeah, you just want to read them so we have them in the
Sure.
record and into the minutes.
Absolutely. Okay, so these conditions are item 1, these approvals are contingent upon the findings and recommendations in the geohazards report and it's by Ye and Associates dated April 4th, 2020, stating a tier 2 or 3 report is not necessary and there are no geohazards which cannot be reasonably mitigated, anticipated for the proposed construction. Item 2, mitigation and further testing study recommended in April 4th, 2020 by Ye and Associates geohazard report shall be complied with regarding development of lot 1, and a note shall be provided that references this report and other associated geohazards report / letter on the plat. Item 3 remains the same. The specific subdivision waiver is contingent upon approval of the proposed front yard setback variance. Item 4 has been modified. An access and parking easement that benefits the single-family residential use that on part of Lot 29, Block 1, Number 9, platted into Manitou Heights, also known as 201 Spencer Avenue, shall be drafted and executed for filing concurrently with the plat. The applicants have indicated it is their desire to also create an access/parking easement for lots 14 through 17, Davis re-subdivision number 2 on lot 1, Buller filing number 1. Item 5 has not been modified or recommended for modification. The subject lot shall be known as 110 Devon Avenue. Item 6, original item 6 has been stricken, which is the applicants shall provide a certificate of taxes confirming their property taxes are current. Previous item number 7 is now item number 6. Prior to filing, the plat shall be updated to include the following. Item A note restricting the sale or removal of Lot 1, Buller subdivision, filing number 1, out of the common ownership with that part of Lot 29, Block 1, Number 9, platted into Manitou Heights, also known as 201 Spencer Avenue, unless both parties are in compliance with the applicable codes at the time, such as parking for both properties, utilities, and land use, and noting the filing number of the access and parking easement to be filed concurrently with the plat. Item B of that does not change. Any areas of 17 to 29% grade shall be identified and labeled. Item C does have modification. A plat note with or without a graphic representation on the proposed lot acknowledging the improvements belonging to that part of Lot 29, Block 1, Number 9, platted into Manitou Heights, also known as 201 Spencer, in place on Lot 1, specifying those improvements or any improvements that the common owners of both properties desire in the future may remain or be constructed. The remaining items are not changed. Item 7, the grade of Devon Avenue shall be added to the subdivision site plan, which shall be provided for the planning department file. Item 8, the property owner of Devon Avenue shall be added to the subdivision. Excuse me, I already read that. Item 8, the property owner shall pay the fees in lieu of land dedication for parks, open space, and schools in the total amount of $514 as broken out in the table in the staff report. Item 9, the surveyor has 90 days from the date of approval to provide all required information, corrections, additions, allow time for city review, and submit their final Mylar for filing, or this approval will expire. Item 10, the surveyor shall provide CAD drawings of the final approved plat at the time of submission of the final Mylar for filing to allow the city to update its GIS data.
Great. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, now, Rachel and Clint, are you comfortable with the staff report as now presented?
Yes.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Don't they need their addresses
Oh,
for the record?
201 Spencer Avenue.
okay.
Rachel, 201 Spencer Avenue, known as 201 Spencer Avenue.
Lot
Okay.
29, that part of Lot 29.
Okay, so if you have no other comments, then we can open this public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment on this item? And
At this time, no one has raised their hand. If there is someone in the audience who would like to make a comment, please, on the bottom of your screen, if you're at a computer or if you're at an iPad, the ribbon at the top of your screen would allow you to raise your hand. This would be that appropriate time.
Okay. So hearing no public comment, the public hearing is closed and we're at the table. Somebody would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve minor subdivision 2001 and subdivision waiver 2001 with all of staff's findings and recommendations.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second. Is there any discussion?
I would just say that I've looked at the property, and this is clearly, to me, an improvement. And it basically simply replaces existing surface parking, stabilizes it with retaining walls, and is it's an improvement to the neighborhood and to the property in question. So I'm vote for the motion.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, well then let's vote, and we can just do it by hand raise, I think. Okay, and that's unanimous. Okay,
Thank you.
great. So moving right along, next item of business is variance 2001, front yard setback 2001 Spencer Avenue, Clint Lewis and Rachel Buller applicants.
Okay, let me please switch over so I can read that to you. Okay, so this particular item, the applicant requests approval of a 2-foot yard setback, where 15 feet is required to allow garage construction adjacent to Devon Avenue. The request is associated with minor subdivision 2001 and subdivision waiver 2001 on the agenda prior to this item. If SW 2001 is not approved, then the applicants may want to postpone this request pending redesign of the garage site in case a different setback variance might be designed. Please see the information provided in this report. The staff report for this is that the existing development on the property consists of a 2,240 square foot single family house to the west of the subject property on an ownership parcel of 1.38 acres comprised of platted lots and vacated right-of-way. The proposed lot for which the variance is requested is comprised of 3 platted lots and part of the vacated right-of-way and is 7,097 square feet in size. The lot fronts Devon Avenue, which is a small developed street only serving one other developed property with 2 dwelling units. The existing house was built circa 1893 and did not include any off-street parking. A garage has never been developed on the property. The property is zoned general residential. The proposed lot size and frontage were established as compliant with the city's regulations under MNS 2001. The applicant proposes construction of a 2-car garage with a footprint of 572 square feet on 2 levels. The upper level shown as a workshop or storage. So the total building area is 1,144 square feet. There is excavated area in the vicinity of the proposed garage site, which is currently used as off-street parking for the home. The garage construction does not require removal of any stone walls and would serve to cover or support the excavation required for its construction. Currently, there are unsupported cuts in this area. The property is within the Manitou Springs Local Historic District, and the proposed garage has been reviewed and approved by the Historic Preservation Commission. The Planning Commission may authorize variances from the requirements of the zoning code not related to use of a property. A variance is an extraordinary remedy, and the criteria set forth in the code are intended to be limitations on the Planning Commission's power to authorize variances. The existence of non-conforming structures is not grounds for the issuance of a variance, and variances must run with the land. The Planning Commission must find that all the following criteria have been met. Endorsement of the variance by adjacent landowners does not relieve the applicant from meeting the requirements set forth in the variance section of the zoning code. Again, the variance criteria are as follows. Item 1, the applicant would suffer hardship as a result of the application of the code, which hardship is not generally applicable to other lands or structures in the same zone district because of the unusual configuration of the applicant's property boundaries, the unique circumstances related to the location of existing structures thereon, or the existence of exceptional topographic conditions thereon. It's noted in this report, the application cites the topographic and vegetation conditions and the previous excavation of the site for the current parking area as conditions specific to this property. Pushing the proposed garage further into the property would require either removal, relocation of the existing shed, and or relocation of the proposed garage. The application indicates using the existing parking area. I'm sorry, just a moment. My family is dropping dishes in the kitchen. Could you guys please leave? Thank you. Sorry about that. The application indicates using the existing parking area reduces the amount of excavation needed and therefore the cost of constructing the garage, which makes it feasible. Staff who prepared this report finds that the application provides the required justification to meet this criterion. Item 2, there are no design alternatives or alternative locations for structures that would eliminate the need for the requested variance and would reduce the amount of the variance required. The variance is the minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of land or structure. Staff noted that the application indicates that there is no alternative to the proposal short of not building a garage, or that would not potentially trigger another variance. The applicants note that they are trying to use the existing topography to create an efficient building with a convenient upper level workshop that would be close to the same level as the adjacent home. The application also states a smaller garage would not eliminate the need for a variance. Staff does not find that the garage is greatly oversized to accommodate 2 vehicles. By using the grade and putting the workshop area on the upper level, the applicants have reduced the footprint size that would be needed to accommodate similar square footage on grade. Staff that prepared this report believes the application has demonstrated conformance with this criterion. Item 3 of this report, the enforcement of the provisions of the code deprives the applicant of rights enjoyed by a majority of other properties in the same zone district. Staff notes that the application states the proposal conforms with many garages in the surrounding area and the general residential zone district overall. They cite a garage immediately adjacent to Spencer Avenue, approximately 3 properties away. Staff notes the side of a single car garage at 128 Spencer is sited very close to Devon Avenue. The street has very limited and only local traffic for the applicants and 1 other property. Staff finds that the application conforms to this criterion. Item 4. The need for the variance does not result from the actions of the applicant or his or her agent, a violation of any provision of this code, or a previously granted variance. Staff notes, the application notes they applicants are not responsible for the historic plating or development or excavation that has occurred previously on this property, but are attempting to work within existing conditions. This is not an after-the-fact variance, and the request is not a result of a violation of code or previous variance. Item 5, reasonable protections are afforded adjacent properties. Staff wrote, the application notes the proposed site is well away from the adjacent garage apartment at 120 Devon, which preserves better views and privacy for that dwelling unit. A notification letter explaining the intent of the application and providing the meeting date or time was mailed to surrounding property owners within 200 feet of the subject property, and the property was posted and the request advertised as required by city code. Staff has not received any inquiries regarding the variance or the other related applications. No adverse comments or negative recommendations have been made by other city departments or outside reviewing agencies. The fire department specifically has stated to the planner who prepared this report, no issue with the variance requests. Staff finds this criterion is met by the proposal. Item 6, the requested variance will not cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or have an adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions of the surrounding property. Staff notes, the application states the garage has been designed to meet the design guidelines for the Manitou Springs Historic District and has been approved by the Historic Preservation Commission. Staff agrees the requested variance would not cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood and would not have an adverse effect on the physical conditions of the surrounding property. The project will improve the value and function of this property, which improves the neighborhood overall and will maintain the character of the area. Item 7 of this report, the granting of the variance will A, observe the spirit of the code, B, secure the public safety and welfare, C, ensure that substantial justice is done. Staff notes to item 7, the application indicates the proposal allows the new construction to be integrated into the existing development and will suit the character of the areas, thus observing the spirit of the code. Staff finds that given the very limited use of Devon Avenue, the reduced setback is not a detriment to public safety and has not been found to be an issue with the fire department. The siting of the garage, each of the existing significantly historic home means that it is not viewed along the frontage of the property where the house is located and will be minimally visible from Spencer Avenue. Staff agrees the proposal meets this criterion and substantial justice has been complied with through the due process for adjacent property owners this hearing provides. The request is in conformance with Plan Manitou policies. The owner will need to conform with geohazard requirements and the wildfire mitigation evaluation by the fire department, as addressed in the associated subdivision waiver report, in order to obtain the property improvement permit for the proposed garage. May I read staff recommendation?
Yes.
Okay, so staff recommendation, staff that prepared this report, Michelle Anthony, writes, staff recommends the Planning Commission approve B 2001 for Lot 1, Buller Subdivision filing number 1, to allow a 2-foot front yard setback where 15 feet is required in order to construct a garage with upper floor workshop with the following conditions, of which there are 5. 1, the variance is applicable only to construction of the garage as depicted in the application materials submitted for this request. No increase in the dimensions of the structure are allowed under this variance approval. Item 2, the variance is contingent upon conformance with the Historic Preservation Commission approval of MCAC 2002. Item 3, the property must be platted into a single whole lot prior to permitting of the garage structure. Item 4, the building plans and construction must adhere to any recommended mitigation, testing, inspections by a licensed geotechnical engineer, as may be required by the geohazard report and evaluation letter provided under SW 2001. Item 5, construction of the proposed garage shall adhere to the wildland fire mitigation recommends from the Manitou Springs Fire Department and shall be noted on the building plans. Staff recommends the following finding in support of the variance. And there are 3 recommendations. 1, that the representations in the application are valid and the application has met the criteria established in section 183201 of the zoning code. Item 2, that the reasons set forth in the application and staff's evaluation regarding the front setback justifies the granting of the variance, and the variance allowed is the minimum that will make possible the reasonable use of the land. Item 3, that the granting of the variance will be consistent with the general purpose and intent of the city's zoning regulations and will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. The applicant has 1 year from the date of approval to obtain a building permit for the proposed improvement, or the variance will expire. A written request for the extension must be presented to the planning director at least 30 days prior to the date of expiration, and the planning director may authorize up to 1 additional year if good cause is demonstrated. In the packet that you received for this, the following pages are a memo to the planning department and planning commission from Clint Lewis and Rachel Buller, as well as a subdivision site plan. I have no further to read from that.
Okay, are there any questions for staff?
On item 5, shouldn't wildland fire mitigation recommends be changed to recommendations?
I noted that as well, and we can certainly do that.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, would the applicant like to step to the virtual podium and state your name and address for the record?
201 Spencer Avenue, Manitou Springs.
Okay, and your thoughts on the staff recommendations? Conditions?
We think they're just fine.
Okay.
No problem.
Anything else you'd like to add to the record?
I'd just like to add that one of the reasons that we like putting it there and the design of this garage is that we're hoping that this will be the first step towards being able to age in place, because we'll be able to go, drive into our garage, go up some stairs, which will be designed so that they can have a stair lift on them. And then when we get up to the next level, we'll be able to walk straight to our house.
Great. A good model for the community. Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Hey, Rachel, just curious, why the garage isn't parallel to Devon?
It's actually not parallel. It's actually parallel to the road that's up above that nobody uses, the road up there, what do they call it, vacated.
But you asked why it wasn't, right, Mike?
Right. Why?
Yeah.
I'm just
Why isn't it
because
parallel to Devon?
The reason is there's only so much room to back a car out of there. And if you were to parallel the Devon, you would have a short runway to back your car out and make the turn to get out. And the other reason is because there's a grove of trees. And if you were to parallel, you would have to take out a section of those trees more than you would if you angled it. So if you visit the site, you can kind of see how angling it kind of makes sense to kind of just make it fit the way that it's been cut there. How many years ago, I don't know, but primarily we got to have room to back the cars out.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you. If we have more questions, we'll bring you back. So the public hearing is open. Would anybody in the audience like to discuss this item?
At this time, if anyone in the audience would like to ask a question or make a comment, please raise your hand using the virtual hand function on your Zoom screen.
Okay, there doesn't seem to be any public comment, so the public hearing is closed. And we're at the table. Anyone would like to make a motion?
Well, I recommend approval of variance 2001 with all of staff's findings and recommendations.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Then let's vote. Okay, there's unanimous. Let's note that Julia Simmons seems to have dropped off the call. So that was a vote of 6-0.
Anybody notice when that occurred?
I noticed about halfway through this discussion. And
For the
I texted
variance?
her and I didn't get any response, so maybe.
Okay, and that for the variance, that happened?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she was present for the previous.
And I'm looking to see if she's in as an attendee needing to be moved over as a panelist.
No,
She is not there.
Yeah, she just disappeared, I think.
She dropped out when Rachel appeared.
Oh,
Well, that shouldn't happen. But
Well, one good thing in terms of the report, Dylan, is that since this meeting is being recorded, you'll be able to go back and see exactly when she left.
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So moving right along, next item of business is notice of council action. If there are any questions there.
There's actually an indefinite.
Oh, I'm sorry.
postponement.
I jumped the gun. Next item is minor conditional use 1903. Minor conditional use permit, amendment of minor conditional use 9004, 10 Oto Place. Christopher Dwyer, applicant.
With regards, go ahead. Dylan.
Yeah, so basically the applicants had a bit of issues obtaining a certificate of occupancy for that garage conversion, which is essentially what necessitated this amendment to the conditional use. So he is requesting indefinite postponement while he sorts that out.
Okay, is there a motion?
Does staff have a recommendation?
Staff recommends indefinite postponement of the request.
Okay, because Michelle had sounded like she was gonna lay down a deadline, but that's fine.
Yeah, so at the previous meeting last month, during the postponement of this item, it was basically stated and recorded into the record that if it wasn't ready to go by this meeting, it was to be postponed indefinitely.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion to postpone 1903 minor conditional use permit 10 Oto Place indefinitely.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? And let's vote. That's unanimous, 6-0. Okay, and moving on, notice of council action and updates.
Christine, the notice of council action.
Sure. No, I was just trying to unmute myself. In the event another dog comes running through randomly. Yes, so 2 items here. I like your dogs. Your dog is quiet. My dogs are small and yappy. They're just cooperative. Okay, so there were 2 items. The major conditional use permit for a telecommunications facility. That request was heard yesterday evening and was approved. Item 7, major conditional use permit for the tea room, commercial operation in a GR zone at 121 Ruxton Avenue by Madeleine King. Was the applicant on behalf of Charles Sanchulara, the owner. City Council did hear this and did approve this.
Okay. Any questions for staff on those items? Okay, well, this has been a productive meeting. Any other, I don't think we have any other issues, so.
Is there any way to tell if other people are on this, if the general public is listening?
Yeah, so on that bottom bar, you'll see participants and it lists the participants. If you click on that, it brings up a little side screen. And up at the top, you have the panelists and the attendees. So the panelists are you guys, the attendees were the meeting attendees.
So right now you'll see we have 2 attendees who are on. At one point, I believe we had 7 or 8 attendees. When the vote was taken to postpone one item, a number of those dropped off.
Well, it worked pretty well.
Yeah. And we learned something new. Mike taught us something new. If the screen is black on an iPad, the mitigation is to leave the meeting and rejoin.
Dylan, I don't see what you were talking about on an iPad. Do you know?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with how it's set up on an iPad.
That's
But
okay, I'll
you-
figure it out.
Yeah, usually
You mean-
across the bottom where you have like the mute, start video, share screen, all of those options is where you'll find that participants.
It's across the top on my iPad, Mike.
Okay, I see.
And under more, you get the chat option. So Dylan, how does that work? Christine
so-
said everyone can see it. So
Yeah.
you gotta be careful what you say.
Yeah,
But then
so if you
does it
click on that,
go, where does it
feature-
go once I type something in?
so if you click on that feature along that right side or wherever the panel pops up, it'll show the chat log.
See, I just typed something.
Yeah.
And what you'll see in the box is that Mr. Pruitt raised his hand. And so as moderator, I had a little icon that showed a hand raised. Because he was listed as an attendee or organized as an attendee rather than a panelist, he wasn't able to speak. But so I did ask yes. And that, because I was not sure what he would be asking, I did ask that question of him and included all of you as panelists. And then he responded, letting us know that he was here.
So the chat was with you and or Dylan, since you're sort of controlling the Zoom technology.
Anybody can chat.
Mhm.
You
No, I
can chat.
realize that, but my question is when someone chats like me, where does it go?
It would be right here. Now, I think you can select to send something specific. So I'm going to, for example, I will send you a message right now that is only to you, you only. It's a private message.
Oh,
But and just as test. But then if I sent something to everyone, then I would send it to all panelists. I can also send a message to all panelists and attendees. I think you guys can do the same.
Yeah, or just to panelists, or
Or
to,
just to panelists. That's why I did advise at the beginning of the meeting to be careful though when you use the chat function, because you may not realize that it could end up being seen in the
I
public.
appreciated that comment.
yeah, it's like doing a reply all when you really want to reply to one.
Right. Or perhaps you just wanted to pick up the phone and call rather than put something, right?
Right.
In a way, if we have more of these online meetings, what I found in other meetings that I've gone to, that I'm not that crazy about the chat function, and I appreciate that we really didn't use it very much tonight, because when you're concentrating on one conversation and you have conversation here on a side panel, it's very distracting. And I just have a limited mind, and I can't be doing this kind of multitasking all over the place. So I prefer not to have it used very vigorously. That's just a personal preference.
Yeah.
Well, I think we
I don't
should
like it.
indulge your limitations, Tip.
Yeah, but it's like if you have a public meeting and everybody's texting on their cell phone, it's sort of,
Yeah.
Similar, yeah.
Very distracting. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for your patience with us tonight.
Cassie's
When-
speaking, but she can't, she's not on.
There, I'm on now.
Oh, no.
I've noticed there's a Q&A function at the top. Has anyone used that? Like
I'm
on,
not familiar.
okay,
There is a Q&A function. Yeah, we have not used that.
okay.
Oh, so there's one there now. Classic. Oh, so Classic, who's in the audience. Yes, it does work. Yes, it does work. Classic.
Good. All right. That's good to know.
Great.
okay,
Thank you.
right. So anything more?
Stay safe.
We can all go home. Be safe. Distance.
Faster commute.
Who's in
Order
their
those
pajamas?
groceries, stay out of the grocery store.
Right.
Who's in your pajamas? Let's everyone stand up.
Oh,
Forget it.
hey, my hair's out of control. Too long.
Looks good.
Yeah.
If you lower your camera so it just gets here, then no one can really tell what the top of your head looks like. It's a trick. It's like
Well,
wearing pajamas. You can't quite see
It's
what's
my
above.
unit on.
Another one.
Aw,
Oh,
Puppy.
too cute.
That's good. So are all the boards and commissions then online now? Is everyone meeting?
not everyone. The quasi judicials, this last one, you're our first really with the planning department as far as the video meetings. But if we're still in quarantine, it looks like OSAC will have one this month and there may be more.
Okay.
I will say Parab did one the other night. Actually, was that just that? It was Monday night. Parab had one. We're set up as a webinar tonight, so we have greater control over who participates and what their input is. They were set up strictly as a Zoom meeting with no safety parameters really per se, because they thought it'd be easier. And as you may have heard, people can search and easily find a Zoom link and jump in. And so that is something that happened to them. It wasn't anything horrible. It was just someone who was filling up the chat box with questions about what are the symptoms of COVID? I think I'm sick, things like that. But in this case, as we did it tonight, it's a bit more secure, and we have more control over who the participants are as panelists.
Okay.
And you have a plan for when there's 12 neighbors who are upset about some sort of issue.
You betcha.
Yeah.
Next month.
Next month, that's
Yeah.
right. So yes, so I was quite helpful having a lot of feedback in writing, and we were prepared if we needed to do that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Fine
Take
time,
care.
everybody.
Bye.